Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very long-awaited episode of a talk with the Galactics. There's been several interferences that have popped up, rather inhibiting some of these episodes. So this is one that's been a long time coming. So we do have a species here today that was mentioned on the Galactic Interstellar Council after show as of this past Friday, which would have been the 26th of March, 2021. It is now the 28th of March, 2021. And you heard Isaac mentioning a civilization that was very powerful within the system that held a great deal of technology, both crystalline and gold like technology that was used in their circuitry and in their more crystalline structures, very much like how Mars was previously to the invasion. So, this particular planet, they are a mix of elven and human and other variant, like with elemental type of species, but they're galactic. They didn't want to reveal the exact position of their planet. So when I called out to them, they sent an ambassador to here, and it looks like he's put himself in like a quantum like filter of some kind. So beforehand, there was a bit of oppression because the bad guys did not want this species being contacted. And they are one of the 40 races that was spoken about that we made reference to. And I've always said there were 40 experimental races. What I was remembering from the secret space program is there were 40 planets of races that had been experimented on, as well as some out there were doing experiments here. It's a mix. So when the forest people brought them up, these are one of the races that they were being diplomatic with out in the system. So when the Anakam came through and said there were some races out here we had to negotiate around, this is one of the things they were referring to. That this conversation could not be had before now. It just would not have been accepted. And also on the same note that I was mentioning on Interstellar Council with the cosmic disclosure episodes that we were seeing, this I feel is a prime example where there was a reference to a security guard that saw an insectoid that was walking through a base and basically had a heart attack and died from not only the fear but the vibration. And it was somebody that wasn't vetted for that particular task to interact with aliens. It was totally and completely unexpected. So I believe back then the energies weren't as receptive, but now they are. And some people are more receptive to this. And I believe now this is why the greater solar system has opened up to the rest of these species. Like I said, they are called the Quidosian Imperium, and they are a Vulcan-like planet, like the Vulcans from Star Trek. They look very much like them. And the name of their ambassador it goes by the name of Parnasus Irigum. And this is, I believe, their representative for Earth. And I believe he'll probably stick around and do other things in the future as well. The more these energies open up, it's just for whatever reason, they aren't saying the exact location in the solar system where the Quidosian homeworld is. Not sure why, probably an entanglement issue. But they were very, very concerned about entanglements as well from myself. So, but for whatever reason, they don't like silver. And maybe that's a thing to ask them. Usually it's negative entities that don't like silver. Oh, it's not that you don't like it. It's very protective, very powerful, very cool, as you just said. But just like how when I wear my silver necklace, sometimes I feel this weird ring from it, and the orgone devices enhance it. Since I use silver in those as well, and it enhances all of these devices. So it sometimes can irritate the skin if there's a certain energy coming from it as well. So amber, they like amber. They like crystals, but they wanted a specific one to change out to this crystal here. So let's see here. All right, one more time. To your benevolent Earth Creator, please audit this situation as of this moment in time. All right. So
you probably put your one hand there and one hand there. I bet you'll feel better.
Yeah.
I just thinking, I'm wondering if that will help.
Yes. Okay. And there's nothing bad about these things. A negative entity would not be able to be around either. Okay. So here we go. Parnasus, if you could arc your consciousness through the crystal. Why did you not want to use the other one? Cleansing codes of other beings. Okay, they're very particular about that, the codes. Okay.
Have you ever used this one yet?
No.
This is a first time.
This is a fresh one, yeah. This is one I got from Quartzite, and it's been sitting outside for a long time, so since we were there in January. So, yeah, I think it's also a couple of the orgone devices that are powerful that I brought in a little while ago that are at my back. So, all right. Yeah, go through the crystal, yes. Yes. Yes, this is Ambassador Parnasus Irigum of the Quidosian Imperium. A summons was heard and responded to. The briefness of this conversation will be determined by the energies at hand within the geographic coordinates of the sender and receiver. We are a race that was indeed, as you would say, created by the ones you call the Anunnaki, or in some instances, Dark Orions, but we formed a fusion of species after the destruction of Asgard, or Maldek, in some cases. The planets that you have been spoken about are indeed the remnants of the 9 realms in your mythology. Yes, there are 40 races that inhabit these planets, and there are other little offshoots and societies on different moons. My society took up more the candle or the torch in regards to more of a Roman Senate style of rule. Yes, an emperorship as well, but not the way humans originally partook in it, more of a republic. We do have treatises with several of the other worlds that are not in a primitive stage of development. We even have what you would refer to as a Stargate within one of our main halls that has been seldom used and will eventually be used again to access Earth when Earth is more the stable pillar of the system. Forgive my slurred accent. We are not used to this level of conversation. We did not expect a communication from Earth at this time in your histories. But, as we've said, the conversation could not have taken place before now. In this, we can go into questions.
Well, thank you for coming through. It means a lot to us to hear from you all. There's really so many questions, so I'm going to try to ask quite a few short ones really quickly, just in case there's any interruptions, since it sounds like a first time transmission. So, were you in existence on your planet as a race even before the explosion of the planet, the Maldek, or Asgard, as some people call it?
Correct. There were hybridized different races abounds in the system, that the hybridization of different races had already begun. It is far greater now than it was then. But yes, we were in existence prior to Maldek's destruction, but not completely in the same format, you see, since we were given, you would say, a life anew after the system was decimated. Not all species were reformed from bones. Some were reformed from templates. So yes, you can say we are more an experiment, also based on some forms of government that were preserved in your Earth's history later on and influenced within our own histories. But a variation of ourselves did exist in the time of the Nine Realms.
So we're just to say this quickly, there's a conversation out there right now that the ones that we refer, Chris and I have referred to as the Anunnaki, the ones that came in more as what we would consider an oppressive force, they broke into the system and it came in, and because we are bigger obviously than people think, we have a lot more planets in our solar system than people think, all of that was affected. And then again there was war, and then there was a rebuilding. But it sounds like, I hate to say it because I don't know what words to properly use, that a conquering force did come in, and then they re-altered by genetics maybe races that were there before. Is that accurate?
That is most indeed accurate. They utilized the bones of Maldek, including what you call the screaming souls of Maldek, the bones of Mars, the bones of others. And over time, other races, of course, came into the system, either striking deals or Faustian contracts with this particular race. Also, others were regarded as the Anunnaki, as you know, but the ones you know of as the Orion or negative Orion contingent, or the degraded first generation, and also more superior in some aspects, second generation, and the more human-like third generation, where they had transferred themselves into your race and tried with our own. Yes, these did break into the system and cause a great deal of havoc. Was a version of us there, and other elven races and other human-like races, of course. Not all were influenced, but there were others that were influenced by the invasion. You would call these invaders archangels. These particular winged invaders were quite nasty and stomped us underfoot, very much like in your artwork. The stomping underfoot took place, but later on in history, as some societies that did survive were remolded, and other experimental platforms were created, as well as the resurrection of some of your kind. Also, the saving of the Asgardian pantheon spoke volumes. The resources of the remnants of Maldek are still being exploited to this day by not only your kind, but other races that have come into the system, that have traveled the highways and byways. Granted, we prefer our solitude, but we have interacted with very few of them that have come into this system. But back into the ancient history, our world was one of the orbiting platforms, let's just say, within your solar system that got knocked out of its orbit, very much like your Mars and your Venus. But our atmosphere did not suffer any damage, very much like Mars, also known as Lumar, and Venus, also known as the home of the Venusian colonies. Our planet is more of a solitude type planet that has an atmosphere very much like your own, a blue, partially emerald like color. We have structures of gold and crystalline structures with a mix of not only holographic technology, but grown stone out of the very gold that the ancient Anunnaki held so dear. We do not believe in mining any of these things out of the forces of others, or life forces of others, or the life forces of other planets, very much like the conquerors of this system with their reptilian army and their vain and snide, as you would say, silver spoon in the mouth. Our culture, like I said, is very much like your Roman Senate. We have a ruling council with a series of cities and towns, very much like how your ancient Atlantis was concentric circles going outward from a capital. There are several of these that are crystalline spires that reach into the sky that collect the solar energies through the gold as a conduit. And this fuels the entirety of the civilization. Is quartz, calcite, and a multitude of others, very much like your Atlantean culture. We kept tabs, as you would say, on different aspects of Earth culture and interacted with Earth culture also as far as your Atlantean culture goes. And we utilized a lot of those looks and technologies. Our culture adapted over a period of time to be very much like your Atlantean culture pre-Discordic times. We, after the destruction of Atlantis, became very, as you would say, xenophobic and preferred not to interact with any of the other races within the system, barring any temporal abnormalities and tears caused by your supposed sphere being alliance. This was a joke in more of a logical construct. We are very analytical, very much like your Vulcans on Star Trek. In fact, they were based mostly off of our type of culture mixed with some of the elven type races. Yes, we prefer geometric logic, but we are not devoid of heart or humor, as some other beings would say. We have a very unique set of humor that few understand, though we do have a hard time understanding Earth humor. Also, as your dear Isaac would utilize your toilet humor. However, we're not saying ours is superior to your own.
You seem to have actually a pretty broad range of emotion that you uh, allow. I guess I don't know how better to say that, because I've heard from your conversation, what I pick up on sometimes is frustration, or, uh, I don't want to say anger, but I do feel there's a little bit of anger when you think about the past and, what occurred, which I find all perfectly normal. So although you like to utilize a logical sequential pathway, it sounds like to me, and of course, I'm assuming you guys laugh. There must be laughter.
There is a little.
It's, whatever your more logical sense of humor is, but it sounds like, though, that you do have a wide range of emotion that you actually exhibit.
Yes, we do exhibit this. We are highly, as you would say, telepathic species. So if a human relation of ours, and we are related to your kind as well, we are mostly human, in fact, with elven influences. If a human from Earth was in a room with us, they would see the laughter more through our eyes rather than a reaction, and they would feel the energies alter and change accordingly. How we speak to each other is mostly telepathy. If we have to use words, it is usually from other trading or around trading races that show up at our doorstep. This is so it is inaccurate to say that we do not have a sense of humor. It is just a sense of humor that some people would not understand, because we are not verbalizing, nor are we, as you would say, belly laughing out loud. It is more of a telepathic inference between all of us. And there are many species that do not always interact in that particular way. So they would think we were just standing there staring at each other.
Okay. So, and again, did I hear you correctly? And as far as just, it's, it's kind of wrenching a little bit to know that the whole entire system was invaded, and you didn't mention anyone who was unscathed from it, that completely, you know what I mean, was able to defend their planet and defend it. It sounds like the whole thing went into what I refer to as the big tangled ball of mess.
Mhm.
And but it's sounding to me like, I guess the way to put it is that that different worlds are at different level of what I would refer to as, let's say, emancipation from it.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's an accurate way to put it.
That is quite an accurate way to put it. Just like your own planet, in some instances, this is not meant as an insult, but some of your kind prefer more of a slavery mindset or dependency or codependency upon a savior mindset. Some other worlds in the system are of a very similar variant.
So, okay. And so and knowing that pretty much there wasn't a race that was unscathed from some sort of genetic manipulation to try and be more in servitude of the agenda of the invading force. So, what I'm trying to also figure out, again, you say you're a blending of human, of elven. Before was there more of a, not that there didn't have to be, let's say, interracial, but was there more of a separation of the individual races, and then the experiment was blend them all together when they had come to your world? I'm just curious what the genetic alterations were kind of before and after for you guys.
Yes, you are most correct. There were many separations of different kinds. You could literally name the races by how they looked or how they acted or how their culture is. Very much like you have some cultures on your world that are named and labeled a particular race. And of course, we do the same, but it is more of a blending out there. You would say a mutt race type of situation out there currently. There are different variations. Yes, there are other races on other planets that are more, as you would say, pure, and one or two races per planet. And the ones that have been there have blended into a singular species. Your world is one of the unique ones, and our system is one of the unique gems of the cosmos because of this particular blending or this particular variation of DNAs. Did they try to compartmentalize some of this? Yes, but other races got involved and infused their genetics as time passed as well. Also, as they made some of their deals and some of their trades with some of the more Orion forces and other forces that are in the system that are unnamed to you currently. It is not just the Dark Orions, but there are others that have a, let's just say, less than stellar perspective of humanity, but there are a lot of others that also cheer you on as well from a distance, but also close by as well. Even though we respect our solitude, we would not be opposed to trading with humanity once of the other abnormalities and power struggles and programs are out of the way.
So when you use the word humanity, are you specifically referring to the humans of Earth.
Yes, this is
Okay.
correct. When we say humanity, even though we are technically human, and other races in your system are technically your relations and out in the galaxy as well, when we say humanity, we are referring to Earth or humans.
Okay, because yeah, I wanted to just make that clear so that, because I know that there are, in this system, there were a lot of humanoid, related races that were on a lot of planets. So it's important. I just say it's so important that we clarify our language and define our language as we have these communications to not have any misinterpretations. So, I want to talk a little bit about the ability to emancipate and what does that actually look like, because there are still a lot of varying thought processes on the again, I'm just sorry, I do not see those beings that came in as our creators. I do not see them as anything other than an oppressive invading force. I do not feel that they are the, let's call it, top of the line, head of the head. They're it as far as the buck stops here and as far as experience and intelligence or whatever. But I do know that there are so many varying philosophies held by, let's just say, humanity. We'll just now focus on the Earth people, because, there really are groups of people that believe that they are the ultimate of a creator. They are, and then there are ones that believe it so much that they're almost worshipped, let's say. And I just find all of that interesting. But to be able to be emancipated, and I use that term, emancipation, not as a loving parent letting you go, but you've emancipated yourself from something, whether they like it or not. And which to me then would go against the ability of somebody being the all father of everything, because, you wouldn't necessarily emancipate from it.
Exactly. It was discussed on one of your programs that there was no God in heaven or no Jesus the Lord. I can honestly say this is a truth. However, there was and is a man that you refer to as Jesus the Christ, but there is no, as you would say, Father in heaven that has such a hallowed name that it is above all of you. This may be a bubble burster to some, but this is a bubble, as he has said, that needs to be busted, but not in the fashion of laws and edicts. This may seem like a shocker to some, but emancipating yourself in your own forms of creativity and not bound by those of religious edicts and what you believe God wishes for your society. This is what is needed currently on your world, but most of all, falling into your creativity and falling into what you call and refer to as passionate outbringings or outbursts, and anything that you find of interest and wish to be involved in, either scientific or artistic. And most of all, within that, emancipating yourself outside of the religious restrictions and rules that you have placed yourself in, whether it is eating a certain food on a certain day, or if at a certain time you must snap your fingers or heed to. Yes, there are militaristic procedures that work in this particular fashion, but this could so easily slip into a religion. And slipping into a religion in the traditional sense is not the thing that it appears to be. In a spiritual overall sense, that there is a benevolent, godly like energy that intersects all things, very much like your Star Wars Force. Yes, this is how it is set up. And yes, a benevolent source creator that binds all things, and the energy can respond to you to audit and purge all of these things. Of course, And there are other benevolent races involved in this process, such as some of your benevolent fairies and such. And is there an echoed dark creator that these Orions worship? Of course, there is. They basically created their own boogeyman, as did your even races, creating the AI boogeyman that they currently worship. It is all a construct of the worshiper to give away the power to that being worshipped.
So, thank you for that explanation. So, as far again as your society and your emancipation, are you being then? Has something occurred? Have you reached a certain level? Have you reached a certain frequency? Have you done something whereas the original overlords, let's call them, don't now pay you as much attention, and you're creating more now independently without interference?
We became that which we truly are, you see. We became more grounded in our, what you would consider to be a true faith or a true testament to yourself. We became that. This is something that the overlords, as you call them, of the system cannot fight. Even some of your own people that have fallen into this agenda cannot fight falling into your own grace, as you would put it. This is something that we just did. This was not something that was thought about, planned out. This was something that we did. We became our true selves, what we preferred. This is how we emancipated ourselves, and then our world united under that one banner. Once this occurred, the Dark Orions and some what you call the Dark Anunnaki and other races could not withstand that particular immensity of power. There is a misconception saying that love is the only way to get there. It is creativity, passion, yes, and love is part of this. There are other ways to fall into this. It is becoming yourself, whatever you wish that to be. Just like one of your wise men once said, it is better to live under your own way than to live under someone else's, or something to that effect, or die defending your own way instead of living in someone else's way. This is how it is united. This is leaving people to their own preferences, leaving people to their own passions, leaving people to their own way of getting to this particular goal. This will ultimately emancipate your kind.
So, within going about and doing that, let's say, my only way, and again, if your view is different, or my view needs to be enhanced, please do that. I always say, don't give certain things energy. Do not, it's like, don't even let it in your head. I think it's such a great truth, in a sense that why, the joke here on Facebook, why don't the Amish have COVID? Because they don't turn on the news. It's like they give it, there's nothing being given to it, and thus it doesn't really occur. So I think that's one of the hardest things as far as co-creating and creating the creativity you want, is a lot of undoing, or what I say, the detangling of the ball of mess, because what people have learned here a lot is how to give energy to something that doesn't benefit them.
Yes, what you give power is what you become. What you worship is what you become. This is why we try to deter those from doing worship and giving their power away. This is why you have become your true sovereign self, because what you worship, what you give your power to, is what you ultimately become, or an extension of that of which you are giving power to. If it is something within yourself, let's say an addictive quality, for instance, or some kind of temperamental quality or damning quality, whatever you give power is what you become. This is why others have attempted to try to gain access to yourselves and others around you by making them become more like themselves. Friends, family members, others you would call agents or sleeper agents. This is why this has occurred, to get you to become more like them. This is something that you must not fall into. We are not saying do not defend against these beings, do not shove them away. Do not, we're not saying do not shove them away. We are encouraging you to get rid of anything that is of toxicity. But in these situations where there are beings such as your ebans that try to provoke, yes, declare your sovereign self and let them know that you are not part of their collective, nor do you intend to worship their god or them as gods. I say this because they are one of the races that your United States government will attempt to bring out first as that of a godly like figure. Some Nordic races that are not for your highest good and never will be. Even though this is going on a more paid service, we know that this is arcing through what you call the benevolent, earthly, Akijik, and will pop up in the minds and hearts of others in its mere broadcast.
Because do you agree then with what we've been saying, that there certainly is a well played out plan of disclosure to just reinvent their recontrol?
This is most correct. Yes, you are having true disclosures take place, and this is most welcomed. But there is indeed a narrative going from a dying villain to a grandiose hero with a sword atop a hill. This is the symbol that you must watch out for in your society. The hero with the sword, not in a good way. The good one is something that is most sought after by some of your kind, to find the hero within. This is not what I am referring to. The banner to be a hero as long as you align with a particular agenda, which is taking place with your COVID-19 agenda currently. One that is most disturbing to us, the people that see themselves as heroes and defending the night, let's just say, on either side of the argument, is the start of this agenda. And whoever comes out with the sword hung high on top then will be the candidate to become the ambassador to bring in those that are worshipped on high. This is all I could say on this.
Which makes sense, because again, one probably, I have to say, probably one of the most unpopular things that Chris and I have chatted about, that we believe it just appears to be playing out now so clearly to us, is the simple fact that people still want a savior. People still want one side to be clean, and they're so dirty still on both sides. Everything's been infiltrated to allow for this next plan to play out, and they've exhausted people. People are so emotionally exhausted. They the COVID came around, as well as, do you agree with the fact that we are moving into areas of the cosmos? True energies are streaming in to help with people. Is that narrative of the energies coming in accurate?
Yes, this is indeed helping others. This is indeed helping your kind immensely and those that live underground from you. But beware also of those that place bets on your lives, very much like you were poker chips. This is happening even now, that this is being revealed little by little, very much like the gods of old that placed hedge bets on which society was the strongest. This falls also within this particular warning about your politics and your COVID-19 and other things that may come down the pipe. Who is the strongest? Survival of the fittest, you would say. The false Darwinian philosophy of evolution, survival of the fittest, instead of that of unity. They wish division under multiple banners, instead of one, the true sword hung on high, as a banner of truth. It is that of righteousness, indignation, you would call it. The energies currently are revealing these things slowly. This is also another reason that we have also volunteered to come through, even though we had a summons call this time. we have also been watching some of the things that have been occurring, very much like how you watch your television sets.
Mhm.
And we have the capability of tapping into what is known as the Bifrost in your Scandinavian mythology. Some of our crystalline structures are made from the fragments of the original Bifrost, very much like in your Marvel movies where it looked like a rainbow crystalline structure. It is very similar, but not quite as you would say, sparkly. This is something that we have tapped into to broadcast the airwaves. Your military industrial complex, also known as Solar Warden, cannot really do too much to us other than harass us periodically from creating signals to your planet and vice versa. This is why there was slight interference today with that. But yes, these mixes of energies, this, as you would say, chaotic soup that is hitting your world and emanating from your world, it is what's causing some of the chaos. As was said on other programs, they will try to tout this as a sickness instead of a point of evolution.
So, but then the timing of it all, I have to say, do you feel this was kind of their Hail Mary moment? Not only are we going to do this other, but we're going to do it when they're all exhausted from just the energies coming in. There's no, I mean, they spend so much time over a long period of time calculating out when to do something, when is the right moment, when is the energetic moment, when it's, and I think people would be blown away at how long these things have been planned
They
out.
they have planned these things based on some of these more evolutionary moments in your history to try to quell that they cannot quell, even though they did plan out some of the mishaps in your yugas and Kali yugas that have happened through history to get you to recreate disasters over and over and over again, very much like your big one that people like to tote, and some of your monumental explosions and battles and wars fought in the glory of God that have happened in your centuries past. But these things were all planned at certain times and certain rotations by some of your Orion contingent and others and servants of theirs and supposed gods within history. This has been bastardized. Yes, there is a true rotation, but there is a false astrological rotation that your planets have been falsely moved to create particular energies upon the Earth with some of your planetary consciousnesses. This is done to a smaller degree than some people think, but there is a true astrology, one that certain alignments are based on and how time is told in space, as you have been told. But a majority of some of your astrological things that are going on were that of time to be able to arc some of these energies to be more chaotic, even though the Earth has its own Schumann resonance that is virtually out of control at times. And some of us have tried to quell some of those symptoms for your kind. These particular energies also amplify with that of discord that they are attempting to implant into you, make you feel sick. Therefore, you go create the symptoms of sickness within these energies, also causing clashes within the energies, causing these explosive clashes within the ether. Some of the old evils of ancient times and some of the old good of ancient times are coming out and bubbling out, and you are seeing remnants of old histories forgotten on your world, things that we have record of that you don't completely have record of, even to the portal network that once was on your world that is rebuilding itself. Eventually, Earth will be the gleaming light of the system. But as it stands, you are on the precipice or razor's edge.
So it seems to me, uh, this is just my personal observation. What I'm about to say, actually, Chris and I have never even spoken about. So there's been so many what I would call kind of in your face issues. I think, be it political, where there's now worry about is the president healthy, what's really going on, who's running the country. It feels so destabilized. To what some people feel are maybe in your face, let's say satanic things. There's no accident to any of this. This has actually all been created. It's people want to believe that it's a misstep. Like there's been all these missteps, and we're smart enough now to see it. But actually, what I feel some of it is still, and this is not going to go over very popular at all, that it's more like the fishing lures have gone out, and what they want you to do is feel that you have been so smart to see it, because when they bring the hero out, you will then fall for that hero.
This is most acute of yourselves, because this is exactly what is occurring. The interchange from villain to hero, the sword, as I said, held on high, one that you would follow into battle in anywhere, in any slum or on any mountain or under any ocean. This is something that is attempting to be regurgitated through your society. It is good that you are looking for truth and wanting truth out, but this is truth, not necessarily that was false. It is being planted in your face in order to get to form the rallying cry. We are not saying that disclosure is not a very good thing. It is indeed a very good thing, but all of the disclosure, including all the plans that have gone past the brow, let's just say, of many people, they wish to latch on to something such as Q, or something such as a sword wielding hero, which again, forming an organization that could bring about truth and topple all these plans. This is actually a very good thing, a very good uniting thing. But as what we have said, what you worship and what you give your power to, you then become.
Right. And so again, there needs to be great caution as far as understanding, again, don't fall into the savior mentality. It's so easy to do. And you have to, again, understand who you are, put out there, what you want to happen or not to happen. I think sometimes in just more generalities, all people are treated well, no one is abused. We get into a society that begins to honor one another, that it doesn't necessarily have to be these very complicated energies. It's more like just the simplistic expectations of how a society will run or how they will not run is more powerful than what people think. But since they're not seeing this certain instantaneous change, they don't realize it. You get tired, you want it to stop, and so you're just going to turn it all over to this other person, whether you realize what you've done or not. You've given all your energy, you're not even paying attention anymore to what's really going on, as they then take your energies as consent for them to do
what they wish
behind the scenes, and you've been duped before you've ever realized it.
Yes, very much like all of your presidents currently up to current. Yes, some of the Trumpistic ideas can be a very good thing, as well as some of your blue ideas could be a very good thing. But why divide all of these things? You see it goes hero, villain. Give a hero that lets you think and wants you to hear everything that is needed in that current moment. Then take it all away, ripping the rug right out from under you, because you are waiting for them to change things. They will never change things. It is up to you to change them by changing yourselves and changing the environment around you, and realizing that they have no power over you. They are not deserving of the power that you are giving them. Their power is fleeting and finite, you see. Even though there is good amongst some of these people and around some of these people, and people are noticing something is amiss, not only with Biden, but with Trump, you see. Yes, in this instance, I'm not throwing anyone under the bus, but in the instance of Biden, your dear Isaac called him a creature. Yes, this you can say, this being was grown in a lab. Your Trump, however, is a hybrid being, very much like ourselves, a hybrid of two distinct DNAs. This does not make him evil. This does not make him anything but a pawn in the game. Does he know more than he says? Absolutely so, but not all the way at the top of those that play hedge bets on that of the chess game, you see. He is not necessarily aware of those, not an evil being. Your Biden, on the other hand, that is a different story. There is no soul technically completely present there. This is more of a hybridization of some of your reptilian interest along with your artificial intelligence. Yes, can they create a better clone than they use, that one that does not stumble and bumble and fall? Yes, of course. They do not wish this, because not only do they want you to feel sorry for this being, they want you to see something as sick and wrong. Yes, but this is also a way to bring out some of this information. But at the very same time, do you wish any of this to take place in your country and on your world? No. So all of this is coming out in the open. You can say it is divinely inspired, but it is inspired mostly by yourselves, tapping into that more divinity within the self and tapping into benevolent source creator itself to change the face and the shape of your world. If we could give any advice to those that are in the political arena, even though we are very political ourselves, because we are on a Roman-like council and Senate, and we would be more than happy to guide those that wish to have a government such as that works in a republic fashion. Anything that we can say on this is, do not deify people, because you will always be disappointed by your heroes, you see. As was said from one of your TV shows, never meet your heroes. This is something that is most apt currently in your world.
So it's a very interesting and hard place to be right now for, I think, a lot of humanity, not to, dehumanize or put on high certain people. It's a problem that we have in general right now, either side of the spectrum, because you've got both actually going on right now at the exact same time, and seeing so many divisions attempting to be created, to either crush or sanctify. You know what I mean? It's kind of a big mess right now. But again, I think it's all intentional. However, as you've stated, anything that could be an intention for someone can be still looked at and retransformed by somebody else.
Mhm.
And that's kind of the key here, I think, for humanity is I just personally believe knowledge is power. I believe understanding how things have been done. I believe galactic history and the history of this earth and understanding the bigger perspective is huge for us to be able to understand it, see the repeating patterns, see the repeating strategies, so that we can understand things all of ourselves, so we can make different choices to be better, in better control. I don't know if that's kind of anything similar to what happened with you. You guys, you almost made it sound like you just kind of stumbled out of being that way. I feel it's a little bit more than just you guys stumbling out of, being a certain way. There must have been certain realizations or something that came about that steered you in your consciously into a different direction to allow for the emancipation.
Yes, stumbling would be the wrong choice of words. It was more like, yes, a self-emancipation. We became our true selves, and we realized there was no God in heaven to worship. We realized that the beings completing this false God and this AI construct, there was no God in heaven that was hallowed above anything else. We realized we were that God, the embodiment of that benevolent creator. When we came into that realization, was it a poof thing? No. It required work like it would on your world. Your world is far more complex in this area, and it would be far less of an epiphany moment than it was for us. We have a smaller contingent of people, not even 1/3 what your people contain. But this will be something that is most difficult for your people to face, that there is no God in heaven to rule over you. This is why people love to worship heroes in your politics. They embody a deity, they embody an idea. Those ideas are within you. They are not embodied in a being that can take on those ideas and gift these concepts back to you. This is something that will be very difficult for your people to take. Yes, there are allegorical representations that your people have created. And there are beings that have created themselves in those images of your creations, create something else.
So it's going to be very interesting then, because I've always believed they are going to parade out somebody, and I'll be, oh my goodness, what is that? Let's, pull out the popcorn and watch the storyline unfold. But really, to pull something out that is going to be marched upon as such great benevolence, you know what I mean? To continue that God-like, it'll be interesting to see if they're able to tie it into any of our current religions. But
most definitely they will be able to.
Yeah, so I think that's my point, because I don't think they're going to be pulling people out before the current belief systems are deconstructed. So somehow they've got to weave them into the story as somehow being able to change forms. They were the saint ones, or whatever they're going to do.
They've already begun with this process, very much trying to tote your Biden as your Antichrist type figure in symbolism. The symbolism of the flags he walked through, you see, sitting at the seat of every table. They tried this with your Trump-like figure, with trying to make peace in your Middle East. But your whole Antichrist concept is not one figure. It is a concept. It is a creation. It is a demigod of worship created from a prophecy that never truly was. This is why all of these figures have created these things in history. If you add all of this together, here is your Antichrist figure. This is something that must be disseminated. This is something that they will attempt to keep regurgitating and reusing. Very much your Christ returning and your Antichrist beginning your apocalyptic times.
So it's just important to just have these conversations, to put this information out there, to help people be strong, to work on your discernment skills.
Very much so.
And to understand that this is going to be a process of, again, enhanced discernment, not co-creating for them, co-creating for yourself. It's not going to end tomorrow. This is going to be this ongoing, series of, it's, I just can't put it enough that they have contingency plan after contingency plan after contingency plan. So many layers that if something falls off, they're just going to pick it up right here. Then they'll just pick it up right here. Then and so part of this really is, in a sense, for humanity, a bit of an endurance test right now, because, we do get tired. And I understand we just sometimes want it over, but that's not what this is actually going to look like. It's going to be constant discernment, constant vigil. But I'm hoping part of our being able to have the energy and the wisdom is the energies that are streaming in, that are helping us just evolve to be able to keep up with this other that's going to be coming through.
Yes, you must always be on your toes, as your kind would say. You must always discern, utilize a mix of head and heart to discern all that needs to be discerned. If one day a demigod would appear on your airwaves, if a demigod would appear as a hero within your society, we're not saying there aren't real heroes, but they do not tout themselves as demigods. They do not tout themselves as all-encompassing and all-important and living on high in a mountain or under your ocean or under your ground. We're not saying everyone in these areas is bad. We're just saying there will be some contributors, and mostly within your own people's variants of different scripts, narratives, and constructs that have been manicured for many, many centuries by many, many different people. If one day there is a hero that takes over your airwaves, such as a conceptual demigod, we're not saying any one person, a conceptual demigod type of government, a conceptual demigod being from the stars. This will be your clue that this narrative is close to its end.
And one of the things as well that it seems that's trying to be regurgitated, brought back up into play, I think it has to do with the concept of racism as well as other things going on. That whole heart and the feather concept that we tried to talk about, where it was put into play. You see it in the hieroglyphics of Egypt, where it was put into play that basically you had to live your life in a certain way. Your heart had to be as light as a feather, or you reincarnate back. You don't get to move on. That's playing out, it seems to me, the whole relook at yourself. And it just feels to me that that is coming out in different ways, in actual words being used by some people's belief systems that I haven't yet been able to figure out where that originated from, but I know it originated from somewhere and is coming back out about living your life with integrity and this, that, and doing good.
It is, yes, there is a program deeply embedded within this, as you have seen on some of your insiders, where they kept repeating this over and over and over again. This is the regurgitation, as you would say, of the 10 Commandments, the heart and the feather, impossible, insurmountable list, as he would put it. Say your 10 Commandments, and there is no one alive that could honor all 10 at once, because everything goes against the grain of what you truly are inside, not negating the murder thing, of course, but that is mostly them. But the heart and the feather, this is an impossible task, the worthy and unworthy, or the lesser and the greater, the awakened and the unawakened. This is a split and a schism that has been done to other cultures in the galaxy as well, or at least similarly done to that has been done on Earth. This is something that has to be negated. Yes, of course, it is important to live your life with integrity, or that knight type of complex where, yes, you are virtuous in some fashion, but it always involves minusing something that needs to be involved in your life. Very much like in your religious community, they take away the sexual because they consider it to be the work of Satan, or the work of the dark shadows, or not of the light, or what have you. Or like a virtuous knight that would be more celibate. This is, as you would say, a load of crap, because this is something that does not belong on your world. Also, other areas of virtuousness, such as negating any sort of negative emotions. Yes, it is important not to linger in anger and hatred. Of course, that is very, very important. But this is also something that has caused people to not honor themselves by feeling certain things and dealing with their own problems. Another one, giving those problems to a Lord somewhere. Letting Jesus take the wheel in that concept? No. You always must be the driver of your car. You must always take the wheel yourself, and never give anything over to any other being, no matter how virtuous it may seem, no matter how demigod-like it may seem. That is what you would call pure evil in its intentions.
So I'm going to thank you for all of that. I am going to turn it back to you, because I know, again, we call this a talk with Galactics, and we always end up, because it's so important what's going on right now here, we always are getting other people's perspectives of how, to deal with it and how to move things in a better way. But I do want to end this with you sharing anything that you find interesting, that if we came to your world and we met you all, what would we find interesting there? What do you think we would be inspired by?
You would see, as you would say, beautiful crystalline structures, oceans, golden like sands. You would see mountains, you would see forests, you would see a world very much like your own, and a people very much in face and in demeanor like some of your own. You would see, even find places to live. You would see and feel the energies of our world. You would see everything. Like very much like if you stood on one of your beaches and looked at the oceans, it looks pretty much the same. The sky has a bit of a purple in it, but mostly like a blue and a bit of an emerald tone to it. Humans would be more than welcome on our world when the time would be correct. You would see different home structures that are within a set of concentric circles, very much like your apartment buildings sort of would be, but humans would wish to build some homes of their own liking and making on our world, which would be in time welcomed when humanity, as you would say, gets it together, as it were. We are not casting judgment, but this is how it has to be. When you set foot on our world, you will see grounds very much like your own: dirt, grass, trees, and as you would say, a Gaia type of consciousness that is on our world that is very much like your own. You would feel a calling and a resonance to it. You would hear the dryads, you would hear the sky, you would hear the ocean. Yes, there are conceptual energies like that. Also, as I've said, there are not those that would embody this. Even though in your mythology there were beings said to embody, they would just translate it as this is what humans labeled us as. Those would be the more correct beings, and they've already done so currently in different channelings. But back to our structures, you would see the capital of it being a high crystal structure, almost stemming to the sky, something out of what you would think is your imagination. And some of our cities and city structures have been depicted by some of your animators and some of your own people in some of your science fiction already, because they are picking up on the benevolent source energy, or what you call benevolent Akashic or benevolent galactic Akashic hub of information. They have already collected some of this in some of their dreamlike scenarios as well, because there are people on your world that have some of not only our coding, but also some of the souls in your incarnation grid as well. They are also present. We do have, as you would say, a stake there, but as some of your very own people. So when some of you return home and some of you have come to our shores for the first time, you will see a people very much like yourselves.
So just one other interesting topic I'd like you to address, not just with your world, our world, but other worlds. People always think the further out something is from the Helios sun, and we know that his daughter is here as well, and whatever, that the Helios is the one that regulates the temperatures on all the planets. Which would mean your planet to us would be, how can you talk about beaches? It would be freezing cold. They should be all frozen. You should be living underground. So what is right now, is there a misunderstanding of how the physics and things work here?
Yes, there is a great misunderstanding, as some of your Trogdebulian beings stated. Their own world, their sun burned out, yet they still have a warmth to power their plants, to power their different structures. Even though they are not mostly there, they can reignite the sun. Do you need the sun's warmth within your cells? Absolutely. Very much like plants do? Absolutely. But a technological construct could be created to not only move a planet, but it can be created to have that same day and night scenario. Just say if something would go wrong with your sun. But are all these planets dependent on the sun for its life force? No. They were once that way in their initial creation, you see, but no longer. This whole concept of what you call the Goldilocks zone, does it have some truth to it? Yes, it does have some truth, whether you get certain, as you would say, warmth from the planet. But this is not completely true as far as warmth goes. This is more along the lines of if your plants are absorbing some of the radiation and light, you see. So as an overall concept, do your scientists have it right in this area? Absolutely not.
Okay, well, thank you. And I know there's a lot more to come to that. It should make people a little bit more excited to understand that it's still greater than what we think. And it actually allows for way more planets out there to be inhabited into, they only talk about the planets, a lot of them in that Goldilocks zone, and it's really not true. There's a lot more still involved, a lot more still for us all to learn.
All planets can be occupied as long as they have land masses. They can be transformed into what you call an M-class planet or an Earth-like planet. Some of your gas giants, as what was said before, and some of your other planets that are way past, very much like Pluto, for instance. Yes, are they getting the radiation from the suns and getting the light from the suns? Absolutely so. But are they frozen balls of ice? No, they are not. They are far from it.
And that we mean that in our frequency. If we actually traveled there, we would be like, wow, this is nothing like we thought it would
Yes,
be.
this is exactly it. You can travel there if you could right now, and you would see streams of civilizations that stretch through your entire solar system and beyond. You see, even though there is technology aiding in this, but do you have some of your natural law rules wrong? Yes, you do. This is something that was intentionally planted within your sciences so that you would have some of your analytics wrong within some of these concepts. It is not necessarily completely your fault. This was placed within many, many of your fields of study, but this is something that eventually will be course corrected.
Well, thank you. Any last words? I'm just going to give it to you.
Yes, this has been an enjoyment for us, but if we could have some parting words, do not necessarily consider it ego, considering yourself as one with benevolent creation. It is not ego. Ego is what you have said is more survival instinct, and it is not arrogant to believe that you are one with all there is. They are attempting to give you a God to send energy to take it away from yourself and consider yourself a smaller you. You have to become your greater you, bringing in more of what you consider to be an over soul. Bring it all inclusive into the moment. Even in your verbiage, it is all inclusive in the moment. This is something that humans in the future, or what you would deem to be the future, would see things as. This has been an enjoyment for us, so we thank you, and we will be in touch, as you would say, for further communications. Thank you. We are closing conduit now. Thank you. And one parting word they were saying is, beware of Greeks bearing gifts.
Oh, Lord.
That was their parting word. What we would say is beware of Greeks bearing gifts. And gilded cages is what they were saying.
Yeah.
So that's what they ended with. So that was Parnasus in Irigum, and he was of the Quidosian Imperium, they call themselves. They are touted as one of the most powerful civilizations in the solar system. Even though they don't really, I guess, see themselves as that. That's how we would view it. That's, I guess, more our viewing things as a god, demigod, power level, etc. That's how we view a scale. So putting it in human terms, that's how it would be. So I enjoyed this episode of A Talk with the Galactics. I hope you did too. So thank you for subscribing to this channel, or wherever this video would end up in subscription form. So thank you, everybody. Bye-bye now.